Today we're going to be going over the Traxler counterattack, which is one of my favorite defenses from black. It is one of the most aggressive openings that you can play as black. You often won't get an opportunity to play it, but if you do have an opponent that really enjoys the Italian game, which is pretty much what it comes from, then you will have more opportunities than not to try this out. So it starts out again with the Italian game, pawn e4, pawn e5, knight f3, simple development move from white, trying to control the center. Black responds, knight c6, trying to do the same. And then the bishop comes to c4. This is the Italian game, and black's going to play the two-knight defense. So this is kind of where it all stems from right here. But now white's going to play knight to g5. Again, attacking this square on f7, and black really has to decide what he wants to do. Now, a lot of times from here you will see black go into the fried liver attack as far as the defense side from black, which basically looks like pawn to d5, trying to break up this 2 attack on the f7 square. But the Traxler counterattack pretty much just says, I don't even care that my f7 square, which is the weakest square for black at the beginning of the game, is being attacked. Instead, I'm going to bring my bishop to c5, and I'm going to attack the other square, this pawn on f2. This is the weakest square from white. So if you're going to attack my f7 square, I'm going to attack your f2 square. And right away we can see both sides have very, very deadly attacks going on against the king. And today we're going to be going over a nice little strategy and tactic in the middle game called a decoy in chess. And what it usually entails is bringing an opponent to a poisoned square and forcing them by usually means of sacrifice, by putting them in a square where they would not normally want to go. If you look at the situation and it's black's move, possibly the last move that you would expect black to make is bringing his queen to b5, because if he does that, we can bring our knight to c7, forking this queen. You're not going to see that move. But if you look at a different position, you may see an opportunity for white to force black to do that. So let's take a look at it. Let's give both sides bishops. We're going to go ahead and give white a light square bishop and black a light square bishop. And if it's white's move, if you can see here, we have a decoy. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to sacrifice a piece and force our opponent to accept that piece and put himself in a situation that he doesn't want to be in. So as we talked about before, our dream scenario would be for this queen to come to b5. But how would we do that? And we do that by bringing our light square bishop to b5, pinning the queen down to the king. From here, white's has this pawn on e5 he can take, but that's the trap. And so I recommend, if you do see this, to play one of two moves. Knight takes on d4, or the move I actually prefer better is king castles kingside. As you can see here, white has 2 development pieces attacking the center. White's attacking this pawn on f7, which is a huge weakness for black, and at the same time he has kingside safety. Black doesn't have a whole lot going on as far as development. So if we completely disregard this gambit on e5, white's going to have a very good game. But black would really like white to take on e5, so that's what we're going to talk about today in the trap. If knight takes on e5, then black is now going to play queen to g5. It's always hard to look at a chess game, especially at a GM level, with such great chess mind, and say one specific move lost a chess game, because I think it's a accumulation of a lot of different moves together. A lot of times it's just brilliance from one side. But the next move from black is definitely questionable. He plays knight to a5, and while this does open up the c file for his rook, I don't feel like this is a great move for this knight here on a5. It's kind of lessening his active piece that he had here on c6, which I thought was a fine square. Kind of analyzing it, it may have been better for him to bring his knight to f5. After he done this, after Bobby Fischer brings his rook to c1, obviously Bobby Fischer wants to bring his rook to an active file here on c, then black could even bring his pawn down to h5, trying to really hold down this square here on g4. If anyone wants to come to this g4 square to kick off this knight has a great outpost here on f5. This would be a fantastic move here. Obviously, black is now putting a lot of pressure on the king side, and Bobby Fischer is going to have to find some way to combat this.